We are all a little depraved and debaucherous. Here is the king of podcasts.
And welcome. This is the Depraved and Debaucherous. Back once again, 2024, first episode of the year. Thanks for listening in, finding the program, kingofpodcasts.com. And of course, the YouTube feed is also there. You can go ahead and, listen to it. Not necessarily watch it, but you are watching it on YouTube, but you're listening to it there at King of Podcasts. You can find it all on the website, kingofpodcasts.com. So we're going to talk about the idea of the dating game. This is something that really not many people are talking about anymore. We've done so much. I've done so much talking about the dating game, well, on dating in general, when it comes to this program, since I started it. And even when I first named the show one about podcasting, I made it more general interest, but then really just kind of targeted a little more to the topics that I'm at right now with this program when it comes to dating and culture, society, and all the different vices and all different things that we are depraved and debaucherous about. And one of the areas is that when we talked about dating before social media, it was a dating game. We didn't have social media to help make us really come off delusional in some of our cases. And you can notice with some people that are older don't feel as much as this, but you know what? For all those of you that listen to this program, and one thing I got to be surprised about is how often I see the audience that comes in to listen to this program and how often that they are younger and how many women we get on this that listen to the program too. I mean, I look and I'm saying, wow, so many women in their teens and 20s, and then it breaks more into where there are more women that listen in their 40s and up. In the two generations that we get from there. And I'm looking at that and I'm saying to myself that when I see the ones that are most likely single that are listening to this program, they're trying to figure out themselves what is missing here. I mean, how many TikToks you just have to see where I see women on here that are trying to figure out what is it about them that they're, the early part of trying to date and trying to see if the initial traditional feeling in the mind is like, okay, would a woman be interested in a man or a significant other? Okay, we don't have to necessarily say it's by sex. It can be same sex, whatever. But looking for another partner. And what you're thinking about is, okay, so there's always been that thought process of, well, you find someone that's the love of your life early on, the first love of your life maybe, and you see how far the relationship can go. Because ultimately, you got to find somebody, the first person that you find will be the love of your life, the person that you want to marry, the person you want to have children with, and raise a family with. I think every woman, when they see other people getting married, that is the dream to start off there and see what happens. Well, you can try that. But I think most women realize that because of social media, that idea is passé. It's antiquated. And there are not a lot of women that really want to think that way or want to have that kind of relationship because of what social media has provided. And we can say it's also part of what the idea of feminism has says. It's not so much feminism or modern feminism as some of the all-female shows would like to say. And that's the part I want to also make a point to. While there are those shows out there that do shows on dating, on relationships, on women and men, I get it. And even the show I did, my last show of the year for 2023, which did very well, by the way. I really appreciate all the content that really people that really follow along and listen to that program. Single women that struggle to keep lifestyle while spiraling into debt. That show did really well. I was really surprised and happy to see what happened. Got a couple of comments from there. One person writing from Midraga, he says, truth is, they never stood a chance with modern women. And then another person says, agreed after that. And that was a point that I made in the video, or in the audio, talking about that. Now, that thought about, not having a chance with modern women. Well, the thing is this. Because of the people that are delusional on social media, one way or the other, because guys are also just as guilty of this as well. Because when you look online or you're looking on social media and you see the guys and who they're with or the girls and who they're with, or not, right? If you're single and women just see, well, look at this, they're going out vacationing, living this great life and being wined and dined and being taken out. Their pretty privileges being used to the max. And the guys, if they have the access, the wherewithal, the money, they will go ahead and now decide, well, we're going to go ahead and I want to have those women. See, the problem is that both sides are delusional. We're trying to get something that we're not supposed to have had. Now, there's means to get it, right? So women are making the mistake of deciding to just abandon the fact they might have had a toxic relationship or two, or the fact that maybe the things didn't work out in terms of having a role model, either at home or in their family, where they saw the exemplary example of a family, right? Wife, husband, children, and seeing that whole family together and saying, you know what? I want that. I want what she has. I want what he has. People kind of forget that. And when you see it all the time, say at holidays or, the kids' birthdays or, whatever things, like school play, sporting event, graduation, confirmation, bar mitzvah, whatever, all these different events. And then you constantly get to go ahead and be subjected to this family. And you see how happy they are and how everything's working out so well. Seeing that firsthand all the time, you understand part of why. And listen, for those that are religious, you go to church and you realize, look at all these families that are all happy and look at how beautiful they are together. Listen, I go to mass on Sundays, and every time I'm looking in the pews, I'm, sitting towards the back because that's where my family sits. But I look up front and I saw these, sometimes I just see families that look together and it's like, wow, they just look great together. The wife, she's in great shape. She's kept herself together while she's dealing with the kids. The kids are well behaved. The husband has kept himself together. You see, he's very, supportive and caring, and like they're all what a good looking family. And you got to ask yourself, well, yeah, you can have that. That dream is possible, and it's probably a lot more fulfilling than the life you would have. Then anything you could do, saying, oh, well, I'm going to go to Jamaica, I'm going to go to Belize, I'm going to go to Morocco, I'm going to go to Dubai, I'm going to go to wherever. I'm going to go jet set. I'm going to go party at the Palms and the Cosmo in Vegas, or I'm going to go hang out in New York. I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to go to wherever. Go to Mexico. This whole thing of in the prime of your life, I'm a beautiful girl. I got pretty privilege. These guys want to take me out. They want to go and take me around, and I get all these great restaurants. I get all these great clothes and this and that. Sure, I get that part. But there was a time where, okay, you want to have that. Yeah, that's what you do, teens and into your 20s. But then you kind of stop somewhere in the 20s and say, okay, I want to settle down. But nobody thinks that settling down is cool anymore. And then the process of going out with guys and gals for that reason. What needs to be understood now is this. That modern women do not need to be part of the equation of who you go after. What you need to do now is this. The dating game can be reinstituted. We can restore that process. But it has to be for the right people. See, the dating game cannot apply to every woman out there that you try to date. Same thing can go for the women. The dating game will go because that's just their modus operandi. That's not even where a woman is playing the game. It's just that's how she's been trained. That's how she's been indoctrinated. That's how she was been programmed. That's how her thought process is. See, women will just do the dating game because that's just their normal rationale. It's not even anything that's contrived or put together. There's always this, defense mechanism where they don't want to be considered sluts and they don't want to be considered just easy to go after. But see, that's the other part, guys. It's pretty obvious that all this work you're doing just to go and have sex with a girl, man, that doesn't sound like a good bargain anymore. Not like it used to be. Because the problem is that you're also going to get a girl that's like, when you finally get to that point, is it really worth it? That's the part I'm trying to figure out. I see enough guys and gals that, they get in my car for Uber, either taking them, and especially this time of year, when they're all going to I've talked about this before. The guys that will go ahead and date a girl and they'll have to take her out from a bottomless mimosas, right? Some brunch somewhere, some other kind of event, green markets, all this other shit, right? The guys have to go out. Listen, the ones that have to go ahead and plan something really lavish for Valentine's Day coming up. Like their plans for Valentine's Day have to start now. You actually have to start thinking about it. You might have to actually have to start thinking about reservations by now, right? This is the thing where you have to think about, okay, who's worthy of it? Now, I'm not saying that there's not worthiness, but listen, what you're going to do with a modern woman, she's not someone you're going to make a wife. She's got to be not going to be a suitable wife if she's completely caught up in her career and whatever thought process is out there about what she's supposed to be doing with her life. Okay. Now, part of it is, sure, there might be some woman that will feel like, well, I got screwed over and, I don't want to be reliant. I don't want a man to support me or for me to be reliant or subservient. I want that taken away. Okay. But the thing is that guys need to quit trying to think that the dating game is going to apply to them, that they're going to be able to go ahead and manipulate them and get them into the mindset, oh, well, I could just be who they're going to be, what they want to be, and then they'll just change after a while after we've gotten together. No. What you have to realize is that the dating game is only going to work to certain women. And what you need to realize is the dating game you need to play now is you need to evaluate on a first date. And evaluation, you need to start realizing now that, you know what, you need to create an even playing field. So, and that's if a woman will comply to it. If she will say yes. You don't need to do any lavish dates. You don't need to do anything that's over the top and like trying to create some kind of impression. Stop that shit. The dating game used to work that way because that was that thought process, but now social media has desensitized every woman about that. And women and guys, same thing. It's like, well, so just some girl you went out with high school that might have got a little bit older and she's more mature and now she just looks different. Now you're interested in her. No, that girl's not even interested anymore. It's like, no, I need some girl that's like, all this stuff, like the thought process of like, oh, maybe she needs a BBL or she needs lip injections or she needs all this plastic surgery and needs to be dressed in Shein or Fashion Nova or whatever the hell. It's like, I need one of those influencer type girls. I need that fantasy. No. If you're going to do the dating game, it's need to be grounded in reality, not on social media. Number one. And if you're going to do it, the first part of the dating game, the first thing you do is you need to see if the woman will go ahead and be on an even playing field and realize, okay, look, you want to meet up? We're not doing the big dinner. We're not doing this kind of thing. Like, I don't need to impress. Okay? Let's just make it on the level. Like, everything's on the level. Now, listen, still, take her out to a nice dinner if you want. Take her out to a nice place, whatever. But you know what? Something practical. Where you're going to get to spend time with her. And you don't need to go ahead and do the whole dating game where like, oh, I need to put out a good impression. I need to go ahead and, take her out to certain places for dating. And then I can just go ahead and slow it down. No, you create realistic expectations then and there. Okay. And that's at the beginning. But then what you do is, if you can find the girl that has not been so indoctrinated or brainwashed enough that she can still believe in real love and that you can, make it somehow, some way that, hey, what's between her legs is not the most important thing. If she can't help herself and just thinks that's all you're looking to do is fuck, then yeah, let her go. Now, if that's all you're looking to do is fuck, okay, then go for it. But if that's not what your intention ultimately is, if you want something more than just a fuck from her, okay, then by all means, take this route. If you want a relationship, take it on the level and you make it a point where it's on principle. You do not want to do anything that social media says that you should do. You shouldn't do anything because you need to, chase clout or seek status. You don't need to be at the place to be. You don't need to be, doing something that like is out of your will because that's not you. Listen, be true to yourself and be true to who you are from the get-go. And see, she'll take from there and she'll see you for who you are and she can actually appreciate someone like you, at least on face value. And if she can meet you halfway on a logical level, on a level where she sees like, okay, she believes in she can believe in relationships. She can believe in, dating, boyfriend, girlfriend, living together, maybe getting married. I mean, because if you want to get married, it's got to be a sure thing, right? We know how many times we hear people that are getting, fed up on marriage and it's not worth it for a guy to get married. But then again, you have to think about this too. If you're going to get married, you can only do it once. And on top of that, of course we've heard the whole part about guys, it's not worth it getting married. But sometimes if you can play this new version of this dating game right, you can find someone that you want to be with for the rest of your life. You can find the woman that you want to go ahead and put a ring on their finger. But the other thing too is that you also change the game and the rules of how the marriage goes. Again, it's about the commitment. It's not about the pomp and circumstance. Listen, you're not making a wedding out of my super sweet 16. You're not doing that shit anymore, okay? This is not Bachelor. This is not any of that. Everything is practical, okay? You want to make a nice event that's going to be nice around family? Okay, but for them. Not what social media thinks. Not because it's going to look good on some posts on Instagram for the next, 3 years. No. None of that shit. You need to not care about what other people think outside of your family, outside of your inner circles. Remember, that's all that matters. Pinpoint accuracy. You only care about what is going on between you and her, or her and her, whatever it is. That's what it is. Now, that's going to limit the amount of chances. You're not going to get as many fish doing that. But what you're also going to be doing too is that you're also going to be at least, what you need to do too is this. While there's rejections, while there's trial and error in this process, you need to start realizing, okay, there's part of the thing too where your type is not what you necessarily think it is. And the part of chasing like it was, that's different too, because also sometimes, obviously guys and gals, we will chase for the wrong people, for the wrong reasons. Even though it might be something that we want at that time, that's the thing you got to think about too. But if you're going to do the dating game now, it's got to be done grounded in the reality and real. Because all this stuff that's going on right now, if everybody continues to keep going down this path of saying, okay, you're going to keep believing in all this stuff that social media says, and everything that you see online, and everything you see on a TikTok or Instagram video or Facebook or whatever, if both of you can detach yourselves when it comes to a relationship and just looking at each other and just take each other at face value, take who you are at face value, and not make it about material or other, aesthetical things. Let's just get rid of that. So the grounding down of starting a relationship off. And once you get to the point where you start liking each other, then you assert the original dating game rules. You create a good impression on her. But you qualify her first. Do you understand me? Qualify her. See if she's going to play that modern woman and she can be had and say, you know what? I don't necessarily believe in all this stuff about I need to keep a career and this and that. And I want to have love in my life. But it's also got to be where, love, more important than money, more important than status, more important than clout. You qualify. And once you qualify that woman based on your own criteria, okay, and based on the fact that there's a connection, there's a spark, you have to do it this way. And then what you do, you then do the traditional dating game. You have some kind of spark. You want a woman play it hard to get? Fine. Guys, you want to go ahead and, move along and work your way to get where you want to get to with her? Okay, that's what you do. But you have to qualify her first. You have to go ahead and get past all the bullshit that's going on right now with modern feminism and the whole process of alpha males and all this kind of process of the guys have to be a certain way. Listen, if you want to just fool around, these guys, the alpha males, listen, while the self-improvement aspect, I think everybody can agree on is good, but the mindset still, when it comes down to, and listen, there's going to be girls that are going to be like this. So yeah, the other part is like, you're playing the dating game or you're just playing the hookup game for kicks. Like there's a hookup game now and there's a dating game. The hookup game is much different. And that has to do with all the part where, yeah, you want to go ahead and put the investment and see if you get a return on it. That's what you're basically doing. You're gambling. And guys like to gamble. I get it. So guys will gamble on a girl that might be high, that puts herself at a high value, extremely high maintenance, right? Like we used to think about high maintenance was a bad thing. I mean, guys didn't want high maintenance. They didn't want a girl that was like taking so much time to get her hair and nails and makeup done. Like there was a time the guys didn't want that. But high maintenance is now in style and it sucks because it's like, it just takes the wind out of everything. And don't get me wrong. I mean, sure, the women taking more effort to make themselves feel beautiful. Yeah, they are gorgeous. But I mean, for them, less on the makeup, less on the upkeep like that. I mean, how about a more natural look? Because women, remember, in some cases, you put so much time to put yourself together. Like you're in a makeup room, like you're working on a movie set or, a Broadway play or something like that. But it's for you. To understand more, it's about you and then who you're trying to impress around you on social media or anybody else. And it's not even the people that you're seeing around you. It's more about what people are going to perceive you and the image that you are if you're some kind of influencer or want to be an influencer. That's the part you're creating. And I'm like, that's not good. Don't do that to yourselves. Don't do that. But it's so acceptable now. Okay, now let's get into the actual story. A couple of things about this. Might go a little long on this, but you know what? We're going to continue this story because this will be an ongoing subject. But I really think that I want to make this point clear that I can't just keep doing this show and keep reporting on the same issues when it comes to men and women and the issues of sugar daddies and all these different relationship problems and all these new terms that come out. I just can't keep doing this show in good conscience without trying to offer a solution here. Because people can go ahead and take stories and constantly go ahead, oh, here's an article about this, here's an article about that. Sure, I can do that. But I also got to give something back here. I can't just do a show that doesn't have substance that, first of all, if you notice in the program, I'm trying to get a little bit more personal about myself, right? Which I see people are appreciating, and I appreciate you, taking into my account about myself and opening up as much as I can about myself. I got a lot of background on, how not to date and bad relationships. And going to the dating game itself because I never perfected it, And, there's going to be some men and women out there my age or a little bit younger that, you know what, you've already gone through this. You're so tired of it. But I will say this. I've written this down before. And I have it written down. Now, I've asked myself, what are the things that would make me decide to go ahead and finally just be with a woman and say, okay, I'm going to be with her and I'm willing to go ahead and make a commitment. This is the question. So I give myself these thoughts and I say to myself this. So when I've written it down, I'm looking it up real quick. There's 4 things that I look for that will make a woman someone I want to hold on to. Number 1, that she loves me so much that she can't imagine me without her in her life. That she'll love me no matter what life brings to us. And she's always cheering me on and staying by my side. That she loves me so much that she can't live without me. And that I want to be able to love her just the way I met her. And that she never changes who she is, how she looks, and who she and lose who it is I fall in love with in the first place. Is that too hard to ask? Is that too much to ask for? Well, I hope not. I try, man. I really do try. Now, so a few stories. There was one story I saw here, and by the way, I'm not going to tell you where it is because I'm just going to say, if you try to go to this site, it's constantly trying to go and hit like pop-ups and stuff like that. So for me to read this, it was a story I thought would be worth talking about. I'll tell you it's from a website called the Paradise News. But they put the story out here. I don't know who wrote it, but their article is titled, Has Feminism and Hoflation Destroyed Dating in the West? Look, if you're going to this site, remember, there is spam all over this. It's like you got to be careful. Now, they make the point of how women in the past should have something more to offer besides sexual companionship. So they go through the study about, flatline population, committed relationships, dating, and marriage have all flatlined. They go through the rates, the female happiness paradox, and surveys show that increased power, job access, and responsibility for women in society since the 1970s has also led to a diametrically opposed decline in overall happiness for those same women. It's one of those things that the Esther Villar, who wrote The Manipulated Man and the Polygamous Sex, she wrote about this kind of thing going on in the 70s and how feminism was changing things. That, women have suffered a far more pronounced drop in happiness compared to men. That men were already acclimated to the struggles of the workday world and their roles as providers and protectors. Women were happy until they joined men in the trenches. Now, there's a couple of areas that we see about that. They say that there's a consensus that they talk about in the story that modern women, Western women, cost too much money and cause too much trouble. Fear of failed marriage is one aspect that has a younger generation on edge, by the way. Family courts still largely in favor of women in divorce settlements and child custody, which means if you're going to get married, listen, they say that marriage rates have declined by 60% since the 1970s. Yeah. You just can't take marriage lightly anymore. It's no longer allowed. If you're going to do it, it's for life. That's how you have to look at it. Like, divorce cannot be an option. I mean, of course it is, but you don't want it to be like that. And the other part is that I don't like the word, but they do like to talk about hoflation, the dramatic increase in costs for men today to maintain a relationship with a woman while the quality of woman continues to go down. Listen, I don't want to say it like that. The problem is that, yes, guys think that the quality of women are going down. No, you can still find quality women, but the problem is that you just need to get to the woman sooner. All right? Those high school sweethearts, when you have them, the thing is, dude, that if you look at the women that are out there, look, of college age, how many of them have started making real significant changes? And then also, why are they? Why is the quality of them going down? Part of it is something about mental health, where some women, if they didn't have the right structure, environment to, be raised to a sense of security and feeling good about themselves and feeling happy and having just, positive energy and positive encouragement and support across the board growing up. If a woman doesn't have that from her childhood to her teenage years to growing up to becoming a young woman, she doesn't have that. That encouragement, that support, that has to be there. There has to be plenty of it. I mean, I think about it with my family, that, the women in my family that you need that encouragement, and there's just a point where okay, what are you going to do with yourself in your life? There's something to be said about structure and seeing how it's done and seeing, solid families together and, seeing grandkids and seeing nieces and nephews and all these other folks together happy at Thanksgiving, happy at Christmas, happy at, birthdays, and whatever other special occasions. And I want to talk about that young women identify with progressive beliefs as opposed to young men who are 53% progressive. Just throw progressive out the door. Listen, it's not about being progressive. It's about being manipulated by whatever's online. Let's just call it, it's cloudy. It's not so much delusional. It's misaligned. Not based in reality. Because I'm not going to use any kind of political words on this. The bottom line is that, sure, you could try to say, oh, well, men and women that might have strong political opinions, let's say it like that, that makes it harder. But that's the part you got to think about too. When did politics become such a thing that was important to dating? It never was. It's been created like that because of what there is in media, what there is in social media, that some people think, well, there's an area of people that want to go and talk about politics because that's such a popular thing online. It was not always like that. It wasn't always like that. It was never like that. But now it's such an important thing. And if somebody really cares about your politics, then yeah, just say no. That's a qualifier. You don't need to care. The politics should not matter about who you're dating. You want to make it an important thing, go right ahead. Okay, but to me, it's not an important factor. I mean, remember, there's sometimes where you're going to agree to disagree, but you can love somebody that is completely different than your beliefs. I mean, what kind of relationship is that if you wanted somebody that was just so like-minded and so like in parallel with you? What's the chances that somebody's doing that just to go ahead and go along to get along and be hypocritical? I mean, the thing is, it shouldn't matter. I can tell you one thing, man. There was a girl I was going out with, and okay, interesting, but this is how it worked out. So I went out with her, and I forget where I went to go take her out to dinner. We went to dinner. It was great. First date. And I remember I took her over to the downtown West Palm Beach, Flagler Drive. The wall right there along the intercoastal. You can see the breakers. You can see Mar-a-Lago, all that across. And we were where the yachts were. And I remember the first thing I was doing when I was talking to her was, I had a deal about, we got into politics, and I forget what it was, but all I remember was like, this is before like, a lot of all that kind of politically correct kind of stuff went on, right? I think this is what, 7 years ago? Oh, 8, 9 years ago, right? Yeah, Obama was in office. And I just remember, okay, we were having opinions, and it's like, it wasn't like I have a particular set of opinions of one way or the other, but like, I remember we were kind of bickering, we were kind of debating, right? And we got into, like, a bit heated. But let me tell you, man, by the end of that, it didn't matter, because I was attracted to her. I thought she was beautiful, and, she liked me, and it didn't take long for us to kind of like, get together, get close. We had already been talking for like a couple of months. I met her off of Coffee Meets Bagel, matter of fact. Yeah. Wasn't a while that site actually pulled, something good. But then, like, okay, we get together, and we were making out by the start, because it was like, we were just kind of having fun with it, right? Like, in the dinner, we were making out, and it was a fun night. And then the next time, I said, well, I was going to come on up and meet with her. And she had got off of work late. It was a Saturday night, and I had to go drive an hour to go see her. And I get to her place. She's got an apartment of her own, and I spent, most of the night with her. I didn't stay the night with her because, like, I wasn't necessarily going to have, and I didn't think about going off and having sex with her right away. I was just like, well, we fooled around. Let's just say that, right? Like, I had fun. She had fun. And she was great. But you know what? My judgment was okay. Because who knew, man? But she had, I think she had broken off with a boyfriend or something like that beforehand. Because when she was spending time with me, she'd already broken off with whoever it was. What she didn't know is that she was pregnant. She didn't know until, let's say this. I spent most of the night with her on that Saturday night. And what, 3-4 days later, we were talking. And then she told me, I'm late. And when she went to the doctor, she confirmed. And then and there, I was like, well, I didn't pursue the relationship further. Like, I still talked to her. I was still being friendly, but, I understand that. And I was like, well, I'm not going to get in the way of that. And you know what? It's fine. She's got a daughter. She loves her. She's great. And cool for her. But all I remember was the fact that, yeah, we might have had a little bit of bickering here and there, but you know what? We were getting along great. I think we could have, furthered the cause of the relationship, whatever it was, but it didn't go that way. But again, it's one of those things where, like, this is my luck. The girl I like, and we're having some fun, and we're just starting to get started, and like, okay, something happens. Pregnant. How about that, huh? Who would have thought? So, this story back here from the Paradise News, they talk about the fact that of how one of the past used to have something to offer besides sexual companionship, but now a greater potential for motherhood, less combativeness and narcissism, and an ability to raise children and maintain a home. Think about it. What justice is that to be in a bad relationship, in a bad marriage, and also neither one of you being good for the kids? Like, why do you think we have so many kids that are misbehaving and, are getting progressively worse when it comes to, being coddled and treated like the way they are? Overly sensitive. It all comes into play, man. This is the problem. It's like, this mindset needs to be changed. I can go more into this, but I don't want to go farther in the program because we're already past 30 minutes. So I've made my point. And like I said, this is going to be an ongoing subject. I want to go ahead and focus on more of this and start changing the narrative a little bit. This is a good year more than any. Because we need to go ahead and start pulling ourselves away from all the shit that continues to be toxic in general. Because listen, we have toxic relationships, and there are guys and gals that both mentally have some issues, but they get themselves into relationships for the wrong reasons, or they're doing it because of nefarious reasons. So the structure, that's got to get changed around. That's not going to get changed overnight, and not everybody's going to be following this trait. But for those of you out there that are listening to your old buddy King of podcasts, hey, listen, let me tell you, if I were going to do it now, if I was going to be, 19, 20, 21 years old, and I knew what I knew now, this is where I would go. You need to now have it where the way you play the dating game only applies to women that you qualify. You need to see if she passes the muster of, can she look at herself outside of perception and reality? Like, you need to see that a woman is much more grounded in reality and not so concerned about perception. Not concerned about her own perception. Like, that really is, that is the gamut right there. That's the difference. And so I hope that some of you are going to realize what's going to go on here. We're going to talk more about it because there's going to be a lot more to say. So I'll bring up all that. We'll continue to talk about it. There's so much to talk about this. And I'll bring it on here and we'll discuss. And I'm sure we're going to learn a lot about this. Learn so much more that'll be understanding to all of us out there so that we can get better off. So we're not at a point where, there's all this that changes and okay, things are not getting better. Like, guys and gals are not getting together anymore, and they're not, getting happy. They're not finding love in their lives. We need to change that. We need to realize that there are things that are going on together that's causing that. We need to go ahead and just realize, okay, if you want to make a change for yourself and not get caught up in this whole idea where, you're not happy and you're putting yourself in relationships that you shouldn't be doing. You're applying a dating game to people that are not receptive to it anymore because they're not in the same world than you are. You're not in the same mindset as you are. Because some people can say that they're looking for love, but they're not necessarily looking for love. They're looking for love in some other delusional way. So let's change that dynamic now. We're still going to comment on the people that are going to still keep doing this bullshit like they're going to, because you know what? That's the part you got to realize too. Like, yeah, we're going to still have people that are going to do the things that they're always going to do, right? They're all going to go ahead and continue to move along in their own fashion, and they're going to continue to do things that are, not worth it. That's okay. That's okay. Listen, if you're going to still deal with women and guys that are going to still be caught up on social media and what people think about them and thinking, well, they want to have everything else in the world that, is not like they're not happy with the way things are in their own world around them. No, they got to look at it on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. And then start saying to myself, oh, you know what? I care about what's going on. Like, I want to go to different countries. I want to go this and that. I want to just do something else. Okay. That's fine. You want to go ahead and go traveling, cruising, jet setting, getting yourself out there, hitting the Concorde, go right ahead. You want to go ahead and, sleep around with different guys all around the world, go for it. You want to be worried about, what I make, or what I do for a living and, my career and my status and, I got to look a certain way. I got to enjoy my pretty privilege. Maybe you're just a little depraved and debaucherous.